Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenville. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Now, I have an amazing entrepreneur. I'm super excited. But before I go any further, let me ask you a question. What's the first thing you think of when you hear the word geek, right? After this episode, you're gonna learn that geek actually means to be empowered or empowerment. Now, what if I told you that there was a community, right, that was aimed at empowering women and girls through the power of code, community, and confidence? Well, I have the founder of one such community, an amazing entrepreneur that one of her big missions is to do that. It is Julia Taylor from the GeekPack. Julia, what's up?
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Man, I am super excited, and I just want to let you guys know, we're in the same mastermind, and I've been kind of like following her for a while. And whenever you're in the company of like a celebrity, you don't want to go over there. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to look dumb. You don't want to like be really awkward. So I just kind of watched from afar, but I had to start talking to her because she did an amazing, amazing presentation at our mastermind. And I was like, you know what? Let's get you on the podcast because we can't keep you hidden anymore. We got to get you out there. So again, I wanted to start with that. But Julia, there's a start to everything, right? Before you created GeekPack and influenced and motivated and helped all these people all around the world. Before that even happened, there was a start, there was a beginning. So talk about like before you did that, what was your day job like? And then talk about what motivated you to create all your courses and this community and to empower all these women and girls. So let's start with the kind of like your previous life there. What were you doing before you got into this?
Yeah, sure. So thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. And I feel the same way, like the celebrity thing, I've kind of watched you from afar and been like, oh, he's too cool for me. So it's a mutual feeling there. But yeah, so my story goes back a good ways now. I'm going to take us all the way back to 2008. So I used to work for the US government. I was in the intelligence community. And in 2008, I was deployed to Afghanistan. So, thinking back, that was the height of stuff going on then. And it was my first deployment. I was in Kabul in the capital. And I was doing a 6-month deployment there. And I met a guy, fell in love. He's now my husband. And the thing that's kind of important about this story is he's British. So we were in Afghanistan. We meet, we date as best you can in Afghanistan, which was super weird. And we stayed together and we did long distance for years. And he deployed more, I deployed more. He was in the military. He's retired now. So I'm in this great job with the US government, love what I do. I travel, I traveled all over the world. I got to do and see and just, it was a really, really cool job. What I always wanted to do. But my heart was in the UK. So it's kind of this tug of what do we do? So I decided to leave my job, move to the UK. We get married. I become a military spouse. One of the things I'm very, very proud of. However, from a career perspective, my prospects just kind of dropped because when you're in the military, you move a lot. So every 2 years we're moving, and I couldn't continue to do my government job in the UK. So I just bounced from one 9 to 5 to another, which was fine personally, but professionally was kind of crap. So I'm in this position, okay, well, I guess this is it for a while. I'll just do 9 to 5 and I have my weekends and I have my vacation and it's all fine. And one day I'm in one of those 9 to 5s and my boss walks in and now granted, the story I'm about to tell, I have a degree in Russian. I had never done anything techie before. So my techie background is non-existent. I don't have a degree in anything, computer science, nothing like that. So I'm in my 9 to 5 and I'm sat there, boss walks in and he says to me, I want our website to do X, a certain functionality. And it was a drop down, like when you have FAQs and it kind of drops that accordion, that's what he wanted. And the website was super like old school and you couldn't just add a plugin like you can now.
Wait, did he know that you didn't have a tech background?
Oh yeah. I have no idea.
He just came up to you, hey, I just need this from you.
Yes. Yeah. I have no idea where that came from, but literally like that moment was life-changing. So he says, I want our website to do this, figure it out. And he walks out and I'm kind of like, okay, I know the function, I know what he's asking for, but I don't know how to do it. So I look to my colleague, and he's a little bit techier than I am. He's like, let's Google it and see if we can figure it out. So, okay, I know how to Google. So I Google, and I find this line of code. Never looked at code before. I take this line of code, I put it in the back end of the website, figure out how to do that, hit save, refresh the page, and it worked. And that moment was like, hang on, like if I just figured this out on Google, how to do this thing to a website, could that be something that I could do remotely? So all of a sudden, my eyes are opened to like that light bulb moment. Is this not like if I learn how to code, if I learn how to do all this stuff, maybe a remote employer would hire me and I could work from anywhere. That was the goal. We were location dependent based on my husband's job. So I wanted a career that was location independent. Mm-hmm. And this whole time, never once did I think to myself, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start my own business. That was not an option in my head. I don't know anyone that has done that. You have a real job. That's all I ever knew. So I learn, and I apply to as many jobs as I can. Crickets. Absolutely nothing. So it was really demotivating to like learn, and I don't have a degree. I don't have 10 years of experience, all the things that they wanted. So it's kind of like, what do I do now? So fast forward a little bit, we're now living in North Carolina. My husband, one of the jobs got him moved to the States, which was great. So we're in North Carolina, and a colleague of his is retiring from the military, starting his own business. And he says to me, build my website. I'm like, that's not a real thing. I can't do that. It's like, no, seriously, build my, okay, so okay, I do. I build his website. He loves it. And he says, this is what you should do. You should start your own business and build websites for small businesses. And I'm like, that's not a real thing. Who does that? So I really, really push back against it. And it's around this time where I find our now coach, Julie Stoyan, and her community at the time was helping primarily women, but anyone start an online business. And I'm like, wow, this really is a thing. I learned how to find clients. I learned how to start a business, like all that from her. And that's where I then start the agency that I had. So I built websites, I would contract some stuff out, and that was all going swimmingly. And then not long after that, my husband retires from the military, and we think to ourselves, well, does he get a real job, or do we go against the grain a bit and let's sell everything, live in an RV, and travel all over the US and figure out where we want to live? Because we didn't know where we wanted to settle. And so we did. We sold everything. We bought an RV. We moved into this RV. And we lived in it for a year and a half. So while I'm traveling, I'm documenting on social media, and people are saying to me, how are you able to travel full time? Like, are you wealthy, or do your parents pay for it? All these things. I said, no, I taught myself how to code, and I build websites, and I, solve problems, and I'm techie, and I built a business around that I can do from anywhere. And people said, I want to learn how to do that.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think, okay, cool. I'll teach you. So that's where the kind of the teaching began. And then like all of that to say, you asked at the beginning kind of where GeekPack kind of came from. So throughout my learning journey, the years it took me to learn, because I was too scared to kind of do anything with it. I took years to learn. I didn't have a community to kind of ask questions. Mm-hmm. I learned in a vacuum. The education was kind of spotty and all over the place, and it wasn't all that functional. And I didn't know how to, like, it was just kind of a messy journey. So when I joined our mastermind and sat down with Julie, I said, I want to create a community. Like at the end of the day, the most important thing for me is to create a community where women can have a similar path to me, but much cleaner and much, much quicker. Yeah. So, and I want GeekPack to be the community where women can ask silly questions and not be scared to ask, because it's terrifying to go anywhere and ask a tech question, because what if someone makes fun of you? And that happened to me so many times. So that's like, at the end of the day, the big important thing is the community that we've created, where there's no such thing as a silly question, tech related, business related, personal related, all the things to support and empower women to learn these hard skills. They're not hard, anyone can learn them, to build an online business, to charge more for their services, and have the life and the career that they want. So
I absolutely love that story. And there's so many people who are looking at you right now, or maybe they've been following you like I have, right? And they see kind of like where you're at right now. But it really puts things in perspective when you kind of hear the backstory. And I always love talking about the backstory because it's not all about like, hey, I was just kind of walking around and I looked out and here I am, or hey, I had like all this money, or hey, I had this talent and all of a sudden I can do it and no one else can. You literally created a business that actually was not your expertise. Like you didn't even have a degree in this. You literally like had to learn it on the fly, but you did it. And I think that's just such an amazing example of if you really want something, if you really have a passion for something, then you can do it. You don't need all that. And let me ask you this, how many of those types of stories, like the story, like your story, I'm sure you hear those types of stories with the people in your community, your coaching clients. How often do you hear that? And is there a particular story that really resonates with you that you can share?
All the time, all the time. And I think I mean, there's so many specific stories and we've had so many students kind of do videos for us and tell us their journey and what they've done. But the thing that I always remember, and we have screenshots all the time in our community where women will say, oh my gosh, I just did this. I just coded this, or I just figured this out. I can't believe it. Me, I did it. Never done this before. It's that feeling of wow, I just did something that Hollywood makes you believe, only men in suits with 30 years experience can do. Yeah. So it's kind of breaking that barrier and that kind of status quo and that feeling of empowerment, but also confidence that comes along with it. And that's one of the things that we love. Like we're all about troubleshooting and problem solving because you can nowadays with the internet, you can figure anything out. It's just having the confidence that you can figure it out and the community to ask the questions. So the amount of times that we see, oh my gosh, me, I just did this. Yeah. I can't believe it. I never would have thought, a month ago that I could do this thing. That's what that's what I get to do. And it's such an honor and is really, really exciting.
I love it. If you can go back in time and ask the Julia who just decided that she was going to quit her job and move to the UK, right? If you told that Julia that, hey, you're going to create something that is GeekPack and all of this, like if someone had told you that, what would you say to them? What would you say to them if they told you at that point, like, hey, you know what? I have a crystal ball and you're actually going to create GeekPack. You're actually going to have a career where you can work anywhere you want. You actually can go to work and see like a mountain lion walk around in your backyard and whatnot. Like if I had told you that, what would you say to me?
Yeah, never. No way. No way. It's interesting. And I never really thought about it until you said that. But there's been two people in my life, one when I was a kid and one actually on my first deployment to Afghanistan, two people that said to me, they predicted I was going to run a business someday. Yeah. And I remember like when they said that, I'm thinking to myself, that is the most ridiculous thing ever. And it's never occurred to me till now because both of them said, you're going to run a business and I want to work for you. And I remember thinking that's ridiculous. So no, never in a million years.
I always like to ask that because again, so many times, we see people doing amazing things, amazing entrepreneurs, influencers, and you look at them, you're like, well, I can never do that. I mean, they just have natural talent. Hey, they just have all these resources, they have all this privilege and whatnot. But those same people started somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. They started, if someone had told them they were going to do these things, they would say, you're nuts, right? So I love to ask those questions of my guests because again, it's like you look at where you're at right now, and sometimes people forget that was just like a long journey, right? It was a long journey to get there. Now, I'm going to ask you this question here. Now, for those listeners right now, for those viewers right now, and they're thinking, okay, I want to be a part of the community, but I'm not sure if I want to get anything tech, but I just love the spirit. is this still a place for them to come as far as your group goes?
Oh yeah, totally. In GeekPack is a private community for my students who are learning to code and start an online business and things like that. But we are considering possibly expanding that because there is such an amazing bit to the community aspect that I think could reach more people, even if it's not like in the coding realm. We'll always stick with kind of the geeky realm because that's such a, that's such a part of our brand and what we do. But yeah, right now it is a private community for students.
But you have a public community as well, right? So they can also get access as well. So we'll put that in the show notes. And again, it's all about like being able to work wherever you want, right? Like you don't have to go into 9 to 5 and whatnot. You can work anywhere. You even could be working in your hot tub outside in the back in Colorado or something like that. As far as like people who have no experience, right? Like, okay, I kind of like websites and I kind of like coding, but I have no idea what I'm doing. I barely even know how to, work my computer. What do you say to those people?
Easy. They're my favorites because then because that's exactly where I was. So I know exactly where they are. And the journey that I've created for my students is for that person, for someone who's never done it before, but is willing to give it a go, is hardworking, is not intimidated by, other people saying you can't do that. They've got a bit of gumption to them, and they're happy to try. So those are the folks that we love because we can take you from nothing, like where I was, on a path, on a journey to either having skills to work for a business. Absolutely. We have plenty of students who have done that, or the skills to start their own business to work from anywhere.
I love it. And here's the thing. I mean, the person who's actually going to be teaching you, the person that you're actually going to be following has actually done it themselves. And that's huge, right? Again, you said you had a degree in Russian, right?
Yes.
You had a degree in Russian and you have this community and you're teaching people how to code. I mean, it's just mind blowing. But again, it's just a testament of, what Julie's talking about, right? It's one thing to talk the talk. It's another thing to walk the walk, and that's what she does. Okay, so we're going to shift gears here. One of my favorite parts of this podcast, and I call it the Big Entrepreneur 3. So for those who are listening or watching right now, you know what it's all about. It's all about these tips, the entrepreneurial tips, right? So the first question is, I want you to share a productivity tip for entrepreneurs, your favorite tip.
Oh yeah, easy. This thing.
Your phone. Okay.
Yeah. Move it out of reach. I mean, I was just able to reach and find it. I've got a sofa in my office. If I need to sit down and focus and do something and be productive, this cannot be within reach. So it's got to be just simple, and it's been huge for me. That out of reach, any alerts off, full screen. So you literally only see what you're working on. And I could get lost for hours and then go, oh, I haven't looked at my phone, or, oh, I haven't checked my email. Well, nothing's broken. Nothing's on fire. It's just giving yourself that clear space, and a phone is so distracting.
So I totally agree with you, but I have to ask you this. When you first started doing that, did you almost like, were you staring at your phone? Like, were you longing for it, when you tried to do that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, sometimes I wish I had the force and I could just grab it, but it doesn't happen. But yeah, I love that tip because you don't realize how often you pick up your phone until you actually get it out of your reach.
Yep. And even just something as simple as turning notifications off. So I don't have any. My phone doesn't light up unless it's a phone call, but that's it. And I have to actively tap it to see notifications or anything.
Great tip there. Okay, so the second question is share a tool. It could be digital, it could be non-digital, a tool that has helped you as an entrepreneur.
A coach.
That's a big one.
100%.
I'm going to have to agree with you there too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am. GeekPack wouldn't exist. And, I'm a business coach, mindset coach. And when I first got started and I heard that people had coaches, I was like, that is nonsense. Like, really, you need someone to coach you through life and business and all that. But I'm a big believer now. So yeah, I wouldn't be we wouldn't be where we
I'm
are.
going to ask you a follow-up question because
Yeah.
again, this comes up all the time. People will say, you know what? Yeah, I want to coach, but man, I don't know if I want to spend that amount on a coach. When if someone told you that, what would you say to them?
Yeah, the biggest expense when I first started with our coach, biggest expense ever by far, huge commitment. I would say be picky about who you pick. Because it is going to be a lot of money, more than likely. For a good coach, you're going to pay a lot of money. And I had been following our coach for a good year, well before I made this decision. So I would say take your time to find the right one, and ask other people that you know that are in that program about it. Because I've only ever had one coach, and then mindset coaches that kind of come from that. But I've heard other horror stories from other people and coaches. And because I've just ever had the one, I think I got really lucky and I found someone amazing to start with. But I think investing in a coach is so important, but it's even more important that it's the right person, and taking the time to find the right person, the right fit for you, getting testimonials and following them as much as possible outside of the coaching program before you make a decision.
I like to use this kind of like analogy, and it's almost like your spouse, right? Like you don't just get married to just anybody, right? You actually get to know them, right? You look at some consistent, you get a little track record, right? You see how you feel. The same thing with coaches, right? You're going to be investing so much, right? We're not talking about just money. I mean, money is important, but it's the time. Right? You're going to be opening up. You're going to be very vulnerable. And so again, make it as serious as that, right? If you're going to, work with a coach, it's almost like you're almost getting married to them, because you're going to be spending so much time and so much resources. I love that. I agree 100% with you there. Okay. So the next question is, share your favorite book. It could be like a business book or a self-help book. And why is it your favorite book?
Oh gosh, I knew this was going to come up, and I have so many books that I love, and I've just recently read a handful that I love. Let's see. I think right now the one that I will go with is Bob Iger's Ride of a Lifetime.
Okay, yeah.
So I, like one of my favorites is Atomic Habits. I love Start With Why. The Steve Jobs biography is awesome, but there was something about Bob Iger's book, and he was the CEO of Disney for a long, long time. But his leadership style that he had from his very, very humble beginnings all the way through to being the CEO of Disney, and what the care that he took to his business, his team, every single employee, I have so much respect for. And for me and my business, my team is the most important, because one of the things from Start With Why, another book that I love, that he says is as the entrepreneur, as the business owner and the CEO, the most important thing is to pour into your team, and then they can then pour into customers, clients, community. And that's what I do. I love my community, but I don't have the bandwidth to be there for all of them. I do have the bandwidth to be there for my team.
Yeah.
So I give everything to my team, and they give everything to my community. So that, and I got that in Bob Iger's book. And there were so many amazing lessons that I learned. Fantastic story, but the lessons from a leadership point of view could be applied to a one-person show or to a corporation like Disney. And I just loved that book.
I love it. I'm definitely going to put that on my list to read. But yeah, some of the other ones that you talked about, Atomic Habits, I mean, great books as well. But I definitely will put that on my list. Okay, so we're gonna shift a little bit here. Okay, we're gonna get you to jump into your DeLorean or your hot tub time machine, and we're gonna go back in the past, right? We're gonna go way back. Okay. And we're going to talk about mistakes, right? So, because so many times whenever you're on social media, you see what people are doing, like, oh man, look where they're at, right? Look at what they're driving, look at all those things, right? It's like a highlight reel. But what we don't realize is that all that success is paved by mistakes and setbacks. And we learn so much from those things. So talk about a mistake. Talk about a mistake that you learned something valuable from, and share that with us.
Sure. Gosh, so many. I think because there's been plenty, and I love to refer to them as lessons learned,
Yeah.
because every single thing that I've done that didn't work out or didn't go the way I wanted or planned, or made a mistake, but I learned from every single one of those. And the biggest theme that comes out of all of those is taking imperfect action. And for so long, I mean, as I said at the beginning, my journey of learning to code and finally starting a business and finally finding clients, that was like 2.5 years.
Mhm.
So because I was so afraid of doing something wrong, or it not being just right, or it not being 100%. And that's why that journey was so long. And one of the big things that I tell my students, and I'll tell a story in a minute of me taking imperfect action and it paying off, but I constantly tell them, like, imperfect action, just if you have an idea, go with it and then see where it goes. And if it doesn't work, fine, shift, learn from it, and keep moving. So many times, even when I had the agency and I was thinking about, shifting to teaching and this and that, and I wanted it to be just right, and I wanted it to be perfect, and I delayed and delayed and delayed. And recently, and I talked about this at our last mastermind in October, we had a big event, Geekapalooza. Mm-hmm. And leading up to that, I knew, so ever since starting GeekPack, I knew I wanted to be able to give back in some form or fashion. I always thought it would be a nonprofit. So my big dream was always, a GeekPack nonprofit. Well, come to find out, nonprofits are a real pain. The bureaucracy that goes along with it, all the forms, all the stuff. I thought, I'm fortunate as a for-profit business that I can give back without all the strings being attached. I can just do something. And I was listening to a podcast with the founder of Tom's Shoes. Now, Tom's Shoes, you're probably familiar with, they have the 1-for-1 model, where you buy a pair of shoes and a child in need gets a pair of shoes. So I thought, why can't I just do that? I can, because I'm the business owner and I can do whatever I want. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. So I created just out of thin air. I was like, right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to call it the Geek for Geek. So I created a Geek for Geek program, and it's just that. Is it perfect? No. Is it going to change in the future? Absolutely. But in October, I partnered with Dress for Success, a big international nonprofit, and they gave me 20 women who we've put through our program because they need it, because they have financial problems that mean that they couldn't afford to go through the program, but they needed it for themselves, for their kids, for their family. And literally yesterday, we just invited 4 women into the program. One of my students is a domestic violence survivor, and she reached out to folks in her community, 4 other women who are domestic abuse survivors. So we have her plus the 4 women now going through the Geek for Geek program. And it's one of these things that that to me, and I am going to get through this without crying. That to me is success. And I cannot believe that I get to do that because I can, and it's just awesome. So I'm really excited to see where that program goes. But that is a perfect example of taking imperfect action. I wanted something, I had no idea what it would look like, but I just did it, and now it's one of the things I'm most proud of, and it will continue to grow.
I absolutely love that, and that's also the power of being your own boss and having your own business, right? If you have something that resonates with you, a cause, or a charity, or you want to do something, you have the freedom, right? You have the freedom to do that. And I absolutely love what you just did there. And again, I love the message too, because so many times we want things to be perfect, but sometimes done is better than perfect. Actually, a lot of times done is better than perfect. So I love that lesson there. Let's say that you're at an event and someone comes up to you and they say, all right, Julia, I want to do what you do. Right? So imagine someone like a younger version of you walking up to you. It can be someone that's been at some of our events, and they come up to you like, I want to do what you do. I want to teach people how to do something. I want to empower people. I want to do all those things. And you only have like 5 minutes or a couple of minutes to explain it to them, right? So I want you to reverse engineer your business here and explain it to somebody.
Yep. I would start with two things. Learn a skill, whatever skill that is. Learn a skill that can be turned into a service that you offer. And then find a community. If those two things combine together, and in my opinion, you're unstoppable. So if you already have that skill and you know that other people want to learn that skill, then start to teach it. And I'm a big believer in leading with value. And that's something I learned from our coach, Julie. And I have done it ever since. So at every opportunity, lead with value, give away advice, be, to an extent, but just be the person that is helpful, that is kind, that responds to emails, that provides value, that just goes the extra mile, because people will remember that. And leading with value, learning a skill, being a part of a community. And if you do want to create a movement, creating your own community is huge. And how can you create a community that people are proud of being a part of, that they feel like they are part of a tribe? And I know from personal experience, it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the digital sense. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of time. The amount of time that I spent in that community getting it up and running was a lot, but I didn't have the income to pay a team to do it at that time. So it was me. It was my digital blood, sweat, and tears in there. But people who were part of it back from the beginning still comment to this day about the community that we have built. And we have a very clear mission, a very clear vision. We have very clear core values that me and my team run with. And every single person on my team was a student first. Every single one of them. They showed up, they led with value, they wanted to be a part of it. They are empowered by what we do, and they want to be a part of that and give back. So that's where I would say skills, community, always leading with value, and then creating your own community where people are part of a tribe. They're safe. There's nothing more important than having especially an online community.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To say and do, and without any cause for concern.
I love that. I mean, and that applies to anything. So if you're listening right now and you want to do something completely different from coding, from WordPress sites or anything, what Julia just said, it applies to everything. I absolutely love that. Now, what if someone, how do people, if they want to take your courses, if they want to, join your groups, if they want to just connect with you, what's the best way to start?
Sure. The easiest is just to go to my website, which is geekpack.com, and everything is there. All opportunities from, everything that we do, YouTube channel, blog, courses, programs, free stuff. It's all there on the free community, all of it.
I love it. Julia, thank you so much for jumping on. I appreciate you so much. And I'll tell you what, you inspired me. And guys, if you're not inspired, I don't know what else will inspire you, okay? But here's the thing. We just talked to somebody who has a degree in Russian, right? And totally pivoted and now has this great community teaching people the power of coding, right? So again, if you're listening and you're wondering, like, if you have an idea and you're not sure about it, just listen to this podcast episode, okay? So again, Julia, thank you so much for sharing those stories and coming on here. And guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.